taxes down the road. But I think the more frustrating part are the initiatives. I mean, he's talking about new taxes. He's talking about bloating bureaucracy, expanding certain bureaucratic agencies, and he's talking about padding a status quo in the education space. Look, we all know that there needs to be more education funding, but that doesn't mean we just keep throwing money at a problem.
The full segment with Representative Kale can be watched on our Facebook page at WBVP-WNBA or on YouTube at BCR Radio. Rapping with the Reps airs on the second Tuesday of each month here on Beaver County Radio. While Representative Kale elaborated his concerns about Shapiro's budget proposal, Danielle Smith has a report on how some members of the PSEA are in support of it.
The proposal would direct an additional $1 billion towards K-12 education, affecting more than 1.7 million students. Pennsylvania State Education Association Vice President Jeff Nye calls it a historic investment aimed at leveling the playing field for districts that have long been underfunded.
It is a great step. We have to see how those funds are allocated and how they are used in our districts, but we are very happy with that number.
The budget includes $50 million for school safety and security improvements. Nye points out that the budget incorporates recommendations from the Basic Education Funding Commission to develop a comprehensive solution for K-12 education funding.
Shares have inched higher in Europe after a mixed trading session in Asia, where many regional markets were closed for the Lunar New Year holiday. Tokyo ended Friday up less than 0.1% after touching a 34-year high earlier in the day. Markets in mainland China were closed and Hong Kong had a half-day session. U.S. futures inched higher and oil prices were mixed. On Thursday, U.S. stocks ticked higher on signs that the job market remains remarkably solid. The S&P 500 inched up 0.1%, briefly topping 5,000 for the first time. The Dow set an all-time high after gaining 0.1%, and the NASDAQ composite rose 0.2%.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
We could see some gusty winds of over 20 miles per hour today, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 61. Mostly cloudy tonight with a chance of rain after 1 a.m., low of about 50. I'm Lisa Marie with your local Beaver County weather.
This newscast is being brought to you by the J&J Spratt Funeral Home located on 3rd Avenue in New Brighton. Now serving their third generation, where their roots go deep into your community. That's a look at news for now. I'm Matt Durzik for Beaver County Radio News, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and streaming worldwide at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
Today, it's going to go quick. I'm just giving you a heads up right now. If you blink, you'll miss it. What did Ferris teach us? Life goes by pretty fast. Today's going to be an example of that. It's Teleforum. It's 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. The Super Bowl will get discussed. No, not the football game. I could give a tinker's damn about the football game. I ain't got no money on it. Well, who do I care what wins? I got other things to talk about. First and foremost, hit the ground running. Good to see you. Larry Kelly of the Law Group Luxembourg, Garbutt, Kelly, and George. You can see Larry. This is being Facebook Live feeded or fed. Fed's past tense, though. It's currently being fed. Huh.
I was an English teacher, so I'll watch your grammar throughout the show here.
I get hit with a pen.
I'll make sure that grammatically you're correct.
I'll do the I grew up in Alabama. We'll see how that goes.
I'll be like Henry Higgins from My Fair Lady. He was an expert dialectician and grammarian. But I'm not an expert grammarian, and my wife, Marisa, fixes my grammar all the time. And I was an English teacher. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. Oh, nothing at all. You're the reason the public education system ended up like this. It is so good to see you, man. Where you been? What you been doing?
Oh, I apologize for missing last month. I do.
Larry, they didn't know that.
I still got that day job. You understand? And every once in a while, when the court summons you, I know you find this hard to believe, but that's a little more important than being summoned by you. With all due respect, I mean, that's like being second to Willie Mays. You understand? I mean, there's only one person who who would summon me, where that would take precedence over you. That might be Judge Mancini in Beaver County.
If he calls, and when you are summoned by a judge, we're going to talk legal for a second. When you are summoned by a judge, does he call you? I wouldn't think so.
You get an order of court. You get an order to appear.
How do you
We
get
request
it?
your presence in courtroom number 1 at 9:30 on Monday morning.
Does it have to be through the mail, or can they email you?
Everything's done via email today, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Because, unfortunately, our mail system has slowed down precipitously. There's a new word for you.
You're just dropping them today, man.
Yeah, it has. So, if you want to make sure you're going to get it in a timely fashion, you email it these days.
Why would a judge summon you? Is that good news or bad news?
Well, it could be both. It could
okay.
be both. There could be a hearing that you have to attend, maybe a pretrial conference, where he wants to talk about the status, or she wants to talk about the status of a case and where it's at. And, they give you plenty of time. It isn't like Thursday they call you and say, be here on Friday. You'll get a notice, at least a week, if sometimes even more, that the court wants to discuss an issue. And I still got a day job, so you understand. I got to go to those things.
On behalf of whoever client that was, thank you. Please go to those things.
Because I know you wanted to talk about Aliquippa. I know you wanted to talk about that last
I am
month.
willing to talk about Aliquippa because here's completely objective. That's a story that's going to continue. That's called a changing evergreen story, and it should continue. So absolutely, I'll talk about it.
Well, just
when they start whipping people's butts, I'm going to talk about it.
Listen, I actually spoke to Coach Warfield, about this issue. And, I've been involved with the PIAA as a lawyer on many occasions. They know who I am, and I know who they are. I know Bob Lombardi, the head of the PIAA, personally. He's actually a nice guy. He would have fit in well in Newcastle and Beaver Falls. He's a tough guy. The PIAA is made up of representatives all over the state of Pennsylvania. And, like any other aspect of our state, the people from Philadelphia tend to have a little more influence than the people from Western Pennsylvania. And they make rules. And when they make their rules, you can't say, well, I don't like the rule. I can't. You're going to lose that argument. That rule isn't fair. Well, too bad we made it. There's not much you can say about it, and that issue has been litigated. The issue with Aliquippa is whether or not young men who were once part of that Aliquippa school district and leave for whatever reason, maybe for a year, maybe less, maybe more, when those young men come back, are they really transfers as defined by the rule? And I think that's where that case needs to be litigated, because I've had these cases with Newcastle, and I've had them. People call me all the time on these issues. There's no real definition of what a transfer is as it pertains to that rule.
Does the argument for Aliquippa soften a little bit because I just saw 2 different kids transferred to Aliquippa? Or is that all right, you're going to move us up, we're going to do what we want
well,
with
I
your
think
butt
it
too?
doesn't help. It
Okay.
certainly doesn't. But I did see that, and both of these kids were studs, whereby the kids that had transferred heretofore apparently were not major players in their run to a championship. And, the equities, I think, are on Aliquippa's side, but equities don't count when you're dealing with the PIAA and the rules that they're allowed to set up. You have to attack the rules via the definition. The case is, with me, there got to be some old people out there. Mm-hmm. In 1993, Newcastle had 2 young men who transferred into the school district from Texas.
From Texas.
Okay. Now, but
it wasn't a Tony Dorsett living with his grandmother thing.
There were exigent circumstances presented as to why, and I'm not going to get into those. But at the time, the way the rule read is that if the principal from the transferring school in Texas verifies that these transfers were not in whole or in part for athletic purposes, and the principal for the school to which they were transferring signs off, then in that instance, the way the rule was written, the argument to the board was, you have no discretion, the WPIAL board, to change this. Your rule and the PIAA rule is written that if the principal from Texas signs off, the principal from Newcastle signs off, this is over. It's over. I don't care how much you want to scream. I don't care how much you believe these transfers were in whole or in part for athletic purposes. You cannot substitute your discretion for theirs. We won that case. Nobody knew why we won, but it was basically on the rule. Well, guess what they did the next year? They changed the rule. Yeah, to say that we can look into it. It's called the Larry Kelly Amendment to the PIAA.
Is it really? It should be.
No, it should. It should be. But again, if Aliquip is going to win, you have to attack the rule, and that there's really no definition of a transfer. And do these young men, are they considered transfers because they were once part of the district, left for a short while, and came back?
All right, my brain ain't a legal brain, so I'll just ask you this: is my thinking incorrect that the PIAA, by your demonstration of changing the rule, can they do what they want, when they want, however they want?
Whenever they want.
Whenever they want?
They can do whatever they want to do.
All right.
You know, we argued about 3 years ago, right? Larry Kelly, again, I got tired of these Philadelphia public schools, not public schools, private schools dominating the state championship basketball run.
And they did.
Well, forever, and they still do.
Yes.
And, you know, we played a team couple years, they had players from 3 states, okay, and they transfer from one school to the other. Roman Catholic, Newman Goretti, Bishop Carroll. I mean, it just happens every year.
Feeder schools. You're talking about dudes you'll see playing in the former Big East.
And my argument was, look, you should set up 2 championship brackets in the state tournament, one for the private, one for the public, and if you want to play a public-private championship after, do it. Their argument was, well, there was a law passed in 1972 that says we can't. No, that's not what that law said. It's not. All it said was in 1972 that you can't keep private schools out of the PIAA. They must be included. Once you include them, you can make whatever rules you want. Just like you moved Aliquip up to 5A, you can set up a tournament bracket that has public on one side and private on the other. I did all kind of research. They win 70% of the games in hoops by an average of 15 points. And, you know, there's an oversight committee in the state legislature that could step in if they wanted to, but they don't. You know, so we had this big hearing. It was a charade, but again, you know, they know who I am.
What oversight is there? What right is there to be legislative oversight?
There's
tax dollars?
There's a Pennsylvania oversight committee that is established.
Well, then what's the point if they ain't doing the oversight?
They don't oversee anything. They have the right to step in if they don't like the way the PIAA is running their program, and they have a right to step in and run it themselves, and they don't. And maybe for a lot of reasons. Maybe they got more important things to do than worry about who wins state championship basketball games. I understand that.
What do you do if you're what do you do if you're them? Just public schools play public, private play private, and off we go?
Well, you can't during the season. You can't do that. There aren't enough.
Oh no, I'm talking about tournament time.
Tournament, yeah, exactly. You have a private school bracket and a public school bracket. You know, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, Newcastle. I coached there for 12 years. Hoops. We're in the state championship game against Imhotep Charter. Their 3 guards, and I'm not making this up, were being recruited by Kentucky. Okay, you ready for this? Kansas and Villanova. Let me say it again. Kentucky, Kansas, and Villanova.
Pretty good front court, man.
Our 3 guards were being recruited by Westminster, Grove City, and Geneva. Who's winning that game? And we got beat by about 20 points, 25 points. And before that, maybe 5 years ago, we got beat, Newcastle, in the Western Final against Sharon High School. Sharon had won 25 games in a row. One of the best public school teams I've ever seen in the west side of the bracket. They played Imhotep Charter in the state championship game, got beat 71-35.
Oh.
So where are you going? Is that what you want? Is that what you want to see? But I'm done talking about that. What do you want to talk about? Because I get aggravated. And on camera, my face will turn red. And, you know, I'm passionate about this stuff, as you can tell.
Larry Kelly is on camera right now. This is being live feeded on the WBVP Facebook page of Larry Kelly of the Law Group, Luxembourg, Garbutt, Kelly, and George. Well, you got me wound up with just more questions. Do as far as you know, and this may be outside your wheelhouse, do school tax dollars somehow, some way end up in the coffers of the PIAA? I think they do, just because
Well, sure
the
they
PIAA
do,
and
because-
streaming and everything else.
Yeah, because they have their hand dipped in to when they play a state playoff game at Newcastle High School. They're using our facility. Mm-hmm. They get the money.
They wait. It's what? Well, no.
Yeah,
come
they get
on,
the
really?
gate.
Why?
Well, because
you
they're
don't
the
get
PIAA.
you don't get nothing.
I think
Here's
there is
$1.35,
No,
kid.
there is a little bit depending on how many games you play. You do get a percentage of the gate, but the majority of the gate goes to them.
As a lawyer, is that enough of an argument to demand to see the books of the PIAA?
Well, you
school
don't
tax
even
dollars
have
end
to
up-
make that argument. There is a PIAA legislative oversight committee. They
Well-
can look at them anytime they want.
But they're not.
Okay. What do you want me to do about it?
Larry's got this grin that I hope you're watching. He's like, "Yep, you're right."
You know, the PIAA makes the rules. And
This is
there's been some
insane.
case law that says if you don't like it, too bad, go play somewhere else. You know, there has been talk about starting another organization separate and apart from the PIAA.
Like the XFL for football?
Whatever.
Well, what happens? All right, let's walk down that road for a couple minutes before I got to go to news. Larry Kelly is with me of the law group Luxembourg, Garbutt, Kelly, and George. Let's say they do that. We're going to just play our own league.
Yeah, you could do that. You get enough teams, you do it.
How long before the PIAA says, "Oh, if you're playing in their yard, you can't play in our
Well,
yard"?
that's what they'll say, I'm sure. But it might not matter if you get enough of the teams who are willing to do that, who are fed up with what's going on statewide.
Do you believe there is a way, or do you believe there is enough school legislators, principals that have beef with the PIAA that they would even consider it?
Oh, yeah. There's a chance that could happen. Again, we had hearings that started in Harrisburg, and we had superintendents from as far north as Erie and as far south, I think, as Washington, PA, who attended this, who said, look, we're fed up with this. There's a problem. And if you don't recognize it, maybe we'll do something about it ourselves. Now, it takes work, takes organization, but if that happens somewhere down the road, it will not surprise me.
Would it just take one person willing to be shunned? Because if Larry Kelly decides, all right, I'm going to be that person and I'm going to organize this and we're going to see just how many people would be interested, what effect would that have on you as a lawyer?
No, it wouldn't have any effect on me as a lawyer. But, someone once said, one person, if you can find one person with conviction and courage, that's a majority. So
That's deep.
that's pretty heavy. Yeah.
All right, we're going to get way shallow after news. Larry Kelly is my guest, lgkg.com. More after Matt on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio.
I'm Patty.
And I'm Bob. We're retired, and we live at St. Barnabas in the Village.
We used to have a house.
Lived in it for 40 years.
Raised our kids.
But it became too much. The upkeep, the stairs.
Moving seemed like such a hassle. We didn't even know where to start, so we didn't.
Until we met Cindy at St. Barnabas.
She talked us through our options.
Yeah. And she helped us with our move and all the arrangements.
There was so much stuff. Who knew we had 3 fondue pots?
But she made it easy.
So easy.
Now we enjoy ourselves.
Golf, the pool, new friends, shuttles to where we want to go.
The pub and the food.
So good.
There wasn't a long-term commitment or any large fees.
And they have a healthcare system on campus with doctors if we need it. The kids really like that.
The kids like to come and eat with us.
There's an easier, worry-free way to retire at the Village at St. Barnabas. Come visit us for a free and informative counseling session and personal tour.
I can't believe you waited so long.
I can't believe you waited so long.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700.
Love is in the air, and Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Why fight the crowds by going out to dinner? Cook dinner at home and let the East Rochester and Tuscaloosa Shop and Save be your one-stop shop for you to spoil your Valentine. For starters, at the East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save, you can get your sweetheart flowers for the table and beer or wine to sip on as you wait for the main course. They have surf and turf, as well as a variety of steaks, seafoods, and chicken, along with everything else that you need for that special meal. The bakery at East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Saves has treats as sweet as your sweetheart, like heart-shaped mini cupcakes and chocolate chip cookies. They also have Valentine-themed cakes, cupcakes, and pastries of multiple varieties. Finish that up with that perfect greeting card, and you will be set for the perfect romantic evening at home. While at East Rochester Shop and Save, take a look at the True Value Hardware. They have everything you need for your next project. That's the East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Saves.
When accidents and injuries happen, you need the experience and insight of the legal team at Luxembourg, Arbit, Kelly & George. Since 1934, they've been committed to the physical and financial recovery of personal injury victims. Why choose the law firm of Luxembourg, Arbit, Kelly & George? Attorney Larry Kelly explains.
First of all, we've been AV rated by Martindale Hubbell. It's the highest rating you can get for legal ability and ethics, and that comes from our peers. We have board-certified civil trial specialist, which is like another bar exam. Would you go to a doctor who is not board-certified? Probably not. I've always said, and I tell my daughters, I have 3 daughters who are attorneys. Those in the profession know. The lawyers of LGKG have the respect of our peers, and that's all I ever cared about.
For your free initial consultation, call the law firm of Luxembourg, Arbit, Kelly & George at 724-658-8535 or online at lgkg.com. Luxembourg, Arbit, Kelly & George, keeping promises for over 80 years.
Here is a question that is very easy to answer. Would you rather be sold something or get professional help and advice that ultimately leads to a strategy that best suits your needs? Tom Young at First Consultants Inc. in Beaver has a unique approach that has won over the trust of even the most skeptical clients.
Everybody that's selling is looking for a profit. I focus on creating strategies that are in the client's best interest.
Ask yourself this: what have you got to lose? The answer might be a fortune. Get financial strategies instead of a pitch about a product. Visit firstconsultantsinc.com or be a part of Tom Young's live simulcast presentation on the 3rd Tuesday of each month beginning at 9:10 a.m. on Beaver County Radio and Facebook Live. All advisory services are offered through PL Wealth LLC. PL Wealth is a federally registered investment advisor. PL Wealth is no way affiliated with First Consultants Inc., nor is First Consultants Inc. a registered investment advisor.
As your life evolves, so should your furniture. The new Flex modular seating furniture by FlexSteel at AK Nahas changes with your lifestyle. Durable, stain-resistant, sustainable, easily customized. Discover Flex. This President's Day, take an extra 15% off our low price on your FlexSteel purchase and save an additional 10% off your FlexSteel furniture purchase, along with free local delivery and 12 months special financing. Only at AK Nahas. You'll do okay with AK.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Good morning on this Friday, February 9th, 2024. The Beaver County weather forecast is calling for a mostly sunny day today with possible high winds and a high near 61 degrees. We'll have the full details of your weather forecast following this look at news. The commissioners held a bi-monthly public meeting on Thursday at the Beaver County Courthouse, and during that meeting, the commissioners recognized the undefeated 2023 Class 4A champion Aliquippa Quips football team with a commemorative plaque and dedication. Before officially presenting the award, Commissioner Chairman Dan Camp made a bold prediction for the 2024 Aliquippa Quips.
We're here to present this Aliquippa High School varsity football team to the WPIL and PIAA Class 4A championship. And I'm probably certain, I know some of you won't be here, I see some faces who are seniors, I don't know if they're all seniors or not, but you are all seniors, so you won't be here next year, but I'm sure we'll see some of your friends and relatives here next year as 5A champions. And I'm proud to say that because I know you guys will compete and do well there as well.
That audio is courtesy of the Beaver County Commissioners. The Quips move to 5A follows a decision made earlier this year by the PIAA that the school attempted to appeal, but to no avail. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano spoke with Aliquippa Road Department Manager Lawrence Reddick, who reported that the one-way and do-not-enter signs were removed Friday morning along Keel Street in Aliquippa. The signs were moved after Deliverance Temple so parishioners could get to church. Reddick stated that the road has to be a one-way road. Outlet signs and a 3-ton weight limit are posted along the road. Reddick also added, quote, "If the road is not remediated, then the hill will probably fall before the end of summer due to the sliding," unquote. Midland native Bill Vinovich will be donning the white hat in front of a global audience of millions as he will be the head referee Sunday night at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas as the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs battle the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 58. Vinovich, who was born in Rochester in 1960, will be working in his 5th Super Bowl overall and 3rd as main referee. Coincidentally, his last appearance as the head officer for the NFL's biggest game was for Super Bowl 54 back in 2020, also between the Chiefs and 49ers. When he is not making holding calls in the heat of the moment, Vinovich works as a certified public accountant in the state of California. Governor Josh Shapiro is taking the first step in a years-long process to respond to a court decision that found that Pennsylvania's system of public school funding violates the constitutional rights of students in the poorest districts. His proposal Tuesday for a $1.1 billion boost for public school operations and instruction is part of a 7-year process of ramping up funding. But Republican lawmakers have signaled that they are unwilling to significantly spend down the state's considerable reserves or raise taxes to fulfill the long-term funding schedule. Meanwhile, neither Shapiro or Democrats have produced a plan to show how Pennsylvania will find billions more for those schools. The Department of General Services Bureau of Vehicle Management announced that 400 vehicles will be up for public purchase at the February Commonwealth Vehicle Auction. The auction will take place on February 13th at 10 a.m. at Mannheim Keystone, Pennsylvania, located at 488 Firehouse Road in Grantville. There will be a preview starting today through February 12th for people to see what cars they would like to purchase prior to auction day. Some of the vehicles offered are four-wheel drive SUVs, utility vehicles, and pickup trucks from Chevrolet, Dodge, Ford, Nissan, Toyota, GMC, and Jeep. There is a pre-registration that is a mandatory procedure that must be completed before February 12th. To purchase a vehicle at the auction, buyers must have certified funds in the forms of money order, cashier's check, or certified check made payable to Mannheim Keystone, PA. No cash will be accepted. Wall Street inched higher before the bell with the S&P 500 above 5,000 and on track to close above that level for the first time ever. Futures for the S&P 500 gained close to 0.2% to 5,025.50 before the bell Friday. Futures for the Dow Jones Industrials ticked up 0.1%. Corporate earnings continue to be the driving force behind this week's gains. PepsiCo dipped 0.5% after the beverage and snack company missed sales targets and cut 2024 revenue guidance. Cloudflare climbed more than 24% after it topped Wall Street sales and profit forecast and issued a strong outlook for 2024.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
We could see some gusty winds of over 20 miles per hour today, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 61. Mostly cloudy tonight with a chance of rain after 1 a.m., low of about 50. I'm Lisa Marie with your local Beaver County weather.
That's a look at news for now. I'm Matt Durzik for Beaver County Radio News, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and streaming worldwide at beavercountyradio.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
It is 9:35. It's 53 degrees on a Friday, and it's not raining. And Larry Kelly from the law group Luxembourg, Garbutt, Kelly, and George is with me for this first hour. You know what? If I was doing any better, I'd have problems with myself. How you?
I'm doing great, man.
Great to see you, man.
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. I look forward to coming here. I do. I enjoy our conversations. Mm-hmm. I think it allows our listeners to kind of get a feel of who I am and what our law firm's all about. And when you choose a lawyer, I think it's important. You know, all these guys get on TV and say, we'll get you a boatload of money and, come see us. We've had $1 million verdicts. Well, I think that's a little bit gauche, and that isn't how you should choose your attorney. I think there has to be a relationship. We've gotten a few clients a boatload of money through the years, too, right. But I don't think that's where it's at. You got to develop a relationship based on trust, because, when people come to see us, Eddie, a lot of times they're really hurting. And, they need somebody to lean on. And, the one thing I oftentimes say to a client, especially when they've been involved in a terrible tragedy, whether it's an automobile accident or a medical malpractice case, we won't let anything bad happen to you. And I think that they find that comforting. And I mean it. I'm not just saying it. I mean it. We won't let anything bad happen to you at LGKG.
It absolutely. I remember the first time you and I had an on-air conversation, and I was trying to ask you lawyer stuff, and you were being a normal human being rather than answering with lawyer stuff. And about halfway through, I go, oh, I like this much better. I don't have to look up Latin to talk to you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important that when
It's
you're
a connection.
choosing a lawyer, you develop a relationship.
Yeah, it is absolutely a connection. And we'll tell people how they can get in touch with you
Well,
before
yeah.
we go back to being goofy.
LGKG.com. We have an office in Beaver Falls that you can reach us at. In Newcastle, 724-658-8535. So there's a lot of different ways you can get a hold of us. But we have an office on 6th Avenue, 1126 6th Avenue in Beaver Falls.
Do you have any interest in what's going to happen this weekend with the Super Bowl?
I mean, I don't even know who I'm rooting for yet, but when the game starts, I seem to develop a rooting interest one way or the other.
I've never heard of that.
It just happens.
I've heard I'll root for them a little bit, but so you'll decide who you're rooting for as the game progresses?
Yeah, just when it starts, all of a sudden I have a rooting interest. It's kind of weird, you know what I mean? If I was making a prediction, I've always said in the Super Bowl, if you are a betting person, bet the better quarterback, and you're probably going to win 80% of the time. And I think Patrick Mahomes he's special. He's different. I could never, if I were a betting man, which I'm not betting against him. So my prediction would be Kansas City's winning this game.
Would you ever consider doing the prop bet stuff, like the over-under length of the national anthem and the coin flip,
That's
and how many
amazing,
times
isn't
Taylor Swift is going to be shown?
Do you remember they put Paul Hornung and Alex Karrasch in jail for betting?
Yes, they did. They made Namath get rid of his bar because there were some characters coming by.
I say put him in jail. I meant figuratively put him in jail. They kicked him out of the league for a year. They made
Suspended
Joe
him.
Willie. They made Joe Willie sell his bar.
Yeah, they did.
Because undesirable gamblers were being in there. Now you can bet before the game, during the game, while the game's going on. Is that the definition of hypocrisy?
From your phone without moving.
Is that the definition of hypocrisy? Yeah, you used to have to call the bookie. You used to have to get him on a phone. Oh, my man, I need to give me the Steelers for 100. Not anymore.
What's the number? My Bloomfield friend, what is the number today?
Oh, yeah.
Now, did you call them bookies? Because I think that's my generation. I got to call my guy. But that could work in different arenas also. But if you're talking sports, I'm not calling a bookie. I'm calling my guy.
Yeah, well, everybody had their guy.
Their guy, that's right.
But they were called bookies.
Yes.
Yeah, but everybody had their guy.
Yeah, when they arrested you, that's what they wrote.
I represented a few of those guys, too.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. They, one time
what do they charge a bookie with?
Illegal gambling activities. And, I had to remind a judge one time, when he was trying to say that, this gambling's not only a crime, but it's a crime of moral turpitude, meaning it's morally wrong. Yeah. And I said, Your Honor, I know you don't get out much because you're working really hard, but the last time I checked, I said, every basketball game I go to, there's a 50-50 lottery.
Yes, there is.
Every bazaar I go to, there's a Chuck-a-Luck game where they're taking quarters off of teenagers. And I said, the last time I checked, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was the biggest bookmaker in the state. They run a state lottery. Yeah. Now, you can say what my clients have done is illegal, but we certainly can't say it's immoral. And that was my argument. I thought it's a pretty good argument.
I think it's how'd it go?
Well, it went pretty well for my clients.
Okay, yeah. So you did okay with that?
Well, it kind of enlightened everybody that look, it might be illegal, but it's certainly not immoral, because if it is, then there's a lot of immorality going on in our state. And I think I told them at the time the then governor should then be charged with immorality in if the state lottery is indeed immoral.
The Commonwealth of PA has a mascot for it.
Yeah, it's a squirrel.
It's a rat. They're all rats. It's Gus the groundhog.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's Gus the groundhog.
You can get a bet on that too, whether he sees his shadow. I'm sure.
Absolutely. And you know this, for the full degenerate gambler, it's not about winning or losing. I mean, they don't want to lose their house. It's about the action.
It's the action.
It's the dopamine in the brain.
Yes, absolutely.
So
it's the action.
Is that the way society should deal with it? Just embrace it?
Well, they have.
They're here anyway.
It's over. They have. The only people that have suffered because of the legalization of gambling are the bookies. They're out of business.
And the addicts, the gambling addicts.
Well, I don't know if they're out of business.
They're out of their house.
Yeah.
There are counselors now addiction counselors, subspecializing in gambling addiction.
Oh, it is an addiction.
This is the second biggest time that flare-ups happen. The number one biggest time, March Madness.
Wow. Yeah.
And all that money, and is that just the world that we live in, and too bad, so sad?
Obviously.
English soccer, half the shirts are betting websites.
How about that? Yeah. It's the world we live in, but it's a different world than the one we grew up in, my friend, in case you haven't figured it out.
I'm just glad my addictions don't involve gambling. I'm too cheap.
Yeah, I don't have that gene. I am not a gambler. Yeah. And I don't know how I missed it, because both of my grandmothers, they went to bingo twice a week.
Again, if it's for the church, it's okay.
I guess so.
Larry Kelly is my guest. What is interesting about the Super Bowl to you? Because everybody, if you were going to a Super Bowl party, would you want to be around people that are watching the game? Would you want to be around people that are showing off all the football-shaped molds of the food they brought? Or would you want to be the commercial people sitting there watching?
I mean, listen, I watch football to watch the game, but I do enjoy the commercials. I do. And, of course, the food is we're going to my daughter's. She makes a big spread, and, it's a party. It's fun. And we normally hang around till halftime. They live in Pittsburgh, and then we drive home, my wife and I. But, it's, I enjoy watching the game. I do. But do I have an overriding interest on who wins? No, I don't. I'm a Steeler fan. If they're not in it, then I'm not invested.
Really? You just drop off? Some people do.
Listen, other than on Sunday afternoon, I'll watch the Steeler game. I probably will very seldom watch more than 3, 4, 5 minutes of another football game. It might be on, but I'm not watching. I'm reading a book or doing something like that. I'm trying to become a better lawyer, my day job.
Your day job. Larry Kelly and his day job, lawyer for the law group Luxembourg, Garbutt, Kelly & George. 16 minutes till 10 o'clock. I'm Eddie Crow, and the program is Teleforum. Have you, in your professional life, remembered a more dysfunctional Harrisburg than right now? Among other things, arguing about they can't fix a hole in a roof, Larry.
The only thing that's more dysfunctional than Harrisburg is the dysfunctionality that occurs in Congress. That's a joke, and I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. They do nothing. I don't really think they care much about Eddie, Larry, Republicans, Democrats, independents. They only care about themselves, getting reelected, and what their next gig's going to be. And that's a shame, but that's the way the system's set up. But so I'm what's the word? Not anti-political. I am, give me a word here. I am non-political.
Blasé.
I could care less.
Man, which is worse, ignorance or apathy? Don't know, don't care.
No, I think apathy is maybe worth. I mean, I shouldn't say that. No, I would say apathy is worse than anger. They always say the only thing worse in a professional, rooting for your profession, like the Pittsburgh Pirates. I used to be angry. Now I just don't care, and that's worse than anger. So ignorance or apathy? No, I'd say ignorance is worse. Yeah, absolutely.
Is ignorance more destructive and more fixable?
I don't know about that, but it's bliss. Somebody once said ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
You're never really too disturbed about anything if you really don't know the ins and outs and the facts of it.
Should we as a society be more disturbed than we are? Is that possible without, stuff getting set on fire?
The system's broken. It needs to be fixed. And everybody knows that, but the people that are in charge of fixing it are sitting in the seats that determine whether or not it'll be fixed. So I like you, Eddie, but I like myself more, right? These congressmen, they portray they pretend to care about us, but they like themselves more. They just want to get reelected, and I can't even get mad at them for that. Like I said, I like you. I do, but I like
But I
myself
like you
more.
more.
And if it comes down to choosing between me and you, I'm choosing me.
I understand that completely until it comes into the you said you wanted to represent us part of it.
Come on, cuz.
I know.
Come on, my man.
I know.
Come on.
I'm
I was
putting it out
born
there.
at night. It wasn't last night. I'm from Newcastle. You're from Alabama, but we're in Beaver Falls. People from Newcastle and Beaver Falls, like, you can't pull that wool over our eyes. We got a little street savvy in us. You can sing that song all you want, but you're not convincing me of that.
Did you just imply that Alabama can be less sketchy and ridiculous?
No.
The sheriff, my grandfather's drinking buddy, was the #1 bootlegger in Colbert County, Alabama, and the only time people got busted is when they was cutting in on his business.
We'd have probably been friends, me and
We'd have
your
We'd have walked
grandfather.
the same red clay road. I guarantee you that. So what do you do about it? I give you a magic wand. Is it a multiple party system?
Term limits.
Term
Maybe
limits?
if there are term limits for everybody, maybe you'll do what's right for the country rather than doing what's right to get reelected. It's an inherent conflict. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that.
Are we? Well, it won't be we. 100 years from now, is this country going to be in a better place or a worse place than what we currently sit in?
The United States is resilient. We always find a way to keep our equilibrium. So, I'm not one of those people that say we're doomed. I still believe in the best of people and, the best our country has to give.
Did those beliefs ever sway with your day job?
Not really. I still believe, with rare exception, I've tried over 100 cases, and I've never, ever, ever thought I didn't get a fair shake, ever. There was one time that the judge had his hand on the scale, and after what was sad
That is such a polite way of saying that.
what was sad is after the case was over, my client said to me, Mr. Kelly, I don't think we had a fair trial. And I told her, that's not true. We did have a fair trial. I could never get myself to say that the judge had his thumb on the scale. I could never get myself to say. I said, honey, that's not true. We did have a fair trial. But I've tried 100 cases. That's one time in 100. That could happen anywhere.
But you believed that...
And it wasn't in Beaver County, and it wasn't in Lawrence County. It was in some remote county that shall remain nameless.
If you yourself believed that there was some sketchy, let's call it that, why didn't you say, dear, I agree with you?
Because I believe in the integrity of the system, and I never, ever, ever would want one isolated incident make somebody believe that our legal system is not a system of integrity. The judges we have in Beaver County, they were good lawyers. They were real lawyers. They were men and women of integrity. They were everything you would want in a judge to make the call when the call needs to be made. We're very fortunate in this county, and the same can be true in Lawrence County. You know what I mean? Where that's primarily where LGKG practices. We're very fortunate.
Do you have to be a lawyer before you become a judge?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't just say I'm going to run for judge.
Right. No, absolutely. You could be a magistrate without being a lawyer.
What's the difference?
Well, the magistrate is the lower court. It's like it's a court of limited jurisdiction, but they make important decisions. But some of the magistrates who were not lawyers were some of the most wisest people I've ever come across. It's important to have common sense, and boy, did they have it. I had a case one time where a kid made a really bad mistake, basically knocked somebody's mailbox over on purpose. And
stupid kid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was on his way to West Point.
Oh, that's not stupid kid stuff with that on the line.
And had the magistrate judge, not let him off the hook, he probably doesn't get in. And he lets him off the hook. And I sent him a letter after the fact saying, Your Honor, the only thing I think more impressive than the way you handle your courtroom is your common sense and your wisdom. thank you. This young man ended up West Point,
right?
Couple tours in Afghanistan,
complete
going
life.
To Yale Law School.
Yeah. Life trajectory changing.
Being a big-time lawyer. So, yeah. But if that judge didn't have calm, because my guy knocked over the mailbox, right there, that's a criminal offense. It's called criminal mischief.
I know.
But it's stuff that young kids do, like I've done and you've done.
Mailbox baseball.
But the judge had enough wisdom to let it go and basically told him, listen, I'm going to let it go this time, but we're not letting it go again. And it never happened again. And this young man ended up having served our country and just a tremendous human being.
How many magistrates versus judges are there in Beaver County?
Well, that's a good question. And I should know this. I think there are 7 judges. I'm not absolutely sure. I'd have to go through them and count them all. And there are more magistrates because there's a magisterial district kind of in each community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Typical background of somebody that gets that job. You run for office for that. I've never lived anywhere where they had magistrates. I know you can get busted by them here, but I don't know quite the difference.
Yeah, well, they're oftentimes former police officers, maybe chief of police.
Oh, cool.
Oftentimes lawyers, sometimes just regular people who have, a lot of common sense, who understand the law, maybe not to the same degree as a lawyer, but certainly understand it well enough to do their job and do it well.
Maybe I'll be a magistrate when they fire me.
You could do that.
I'm not particularly logical.
I'll put a sign in my yard.
Would you really?
Eddie Crow, vote for him. He'll set you free.
And if you don't understand the reference, forget it. I don't want your dang vote anyway.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that would be, I told you all along, if I ever ran for politics, this is what I believe. And if you like it, vote for me.
Right.
And if you don't, vote for the other guy.
Right.
That's what I would say.
I'm not going to tell you something.
I'm not going to pander.
Right. That's...
And I say, hey, listen, at LGKG, that's what we say. Go. You should, if you're involved in an automobile accident, workers' comp, medical malpractice, you should go talk to all the other lawyers. But before you make your decision, come talk to us. I believe that if you talk to us, you're not going anywhere else. But if you think somebody else is better suited to handle your case, then go.
Give them the gig.
I believe that wholeheartly.
Yeah, it's
because I know what we can do at LGKG. I know what kind of relationships we develop with our clients. And the most, to me, the most important thing is I've had clients that I've represented 20 years ago.
Right.
And they come back. Or they send their son.
You made
or their
an impression.
daughter. They come back. And that's very gratifying to me.
What should I ask you? We've got a minute left. I love talking to you.
I love coming here. I appreciate it. Again, it's an opportunity for people to understand who Larry Kelly is and makes him tick. We say this all the time. There's lawyers from Philadelphia that are now in Beaver Falls and Western Pennsylvania, but they don't know what makes people from Beaver Falls tick. They don't know they don't know how to present your case to a Western Pennsylvania jury. I think we do, and I think that's an advantage for us.
You'll come back again soon, I believe.
Yeah, I think I'm scheduled next week after.
We make this a Friday thing as long as you ain't getting called to court.
Well, I told you, when Judge Mancini or Judge Ross or Judge Toshi sends me that order in the mail, I got to go.
Yeah, I'm there before they even ask, just to make sure I'm seen. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, brother.
Larry Kelly, Luxembourg, Garbutt, Kelly, and George on Teleforum.
Do you wish that you had the support of a family in your financial